A very lovely morning to you. Thank you for joining us. It's another edition of Off the Press on PlusTVAfrica, where we take a look at the headlines in the newspapers and allow you get to listen to analysis. It makes sense in order to make informed decisions. My name is Felicity Ezewuike, and I'm joined by Gbolahun Oloyede. He's an accountant. Thank you for always being with us.
Olojede. Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
All right. We have Vanguard, and then we have The Nation. We have This Day, we have The Punch, and we have a little bit of sports. But let's start with the Vanguard newspaper. The screamer here is a petition, My Case Against Buhari by Atiku. That's on the front page. There you have it. It has about 3 riders, ads, evidence coming from statisticians, fingerprints experts, forensic examiners, and then credible allegations of rigging mad Nigeria's polls, says Campbell, ex-US envoy. You'll have it there on your screen. President spokesman additional declines comment. There's a picture of the president welcoming the APC national leader after the noise of the elections. Let's see what else is here. Okay, you have on your screen, federal government plans 50% rise in VAT, other taxes. No plan to sell Lagos Trade Fair complex. That's the federal government speaking. You can find details of that on page 10. We're glad we have an accountant here today to talk about this business issues as well. Dawn, Afenifere others get agenda for Southwest Governor-elect, HAP on regional integration. Details of that story you can find on page 11. At the very top, the very cherry news for Nigerian workers, Senate minimum wage. Senate aligns with reps, approves 30,000 naira. A lot of joy that one is bringing to a lot of persons. And Naira Watch is also there. You'll find something on it. On page 41, Naira up to 360.15 to $1 in I&E window. All right, we flip to the back page just to see what's there. Of course, sports is captured. We'll get to that in a bit, but let's just get Gbolahun's thought on some of these headlines. Let's start with the minimum wage. That's the screamer, even though they put it at the very corner of the paper today.
It's the top right corner, so that's still significant.
Some would say it's not big enough after all the agitation and everything.
Well, I will agree. But you know, the election matter, which is a real screamer here, it's also a very big matter. Okay. It's taken us well over a year to get to where we are on the minimum wage issue. So it's good. We celebrate 30,000 after all, though there are already some fears in the polity, and they are genuine fears. We have states that did not pay minimum wage of 18,000 naira for 7, 8, 9 months. So the next thing that should come to mind is, now that it is 30,000, how will it pan out? What will it be?
Some senators seem to believe that all states have the capacity to pay 30,000 naira, and a lot of Nigerians tend to agree.
Well, the numbers are saying something different. There has to be some. I'm not saying the capacity is not there, but there has to be a lot of structural changes in the finances of those states. What do we spend money on? For example, if you look at the Southwest, the 5 states in the Southwest, only one of those 5 has a total revenue that is higher than the recurrent expenditure. For the rest of them, they cannot currently, under 18,000, meet their recurrent expenditure. I'm not talking of the capital. So the total recurrent expenditure is already bigger than the total revenue, under 18,000 minimum wage. How do they move forward from there to pay 30,000 naira? These are the realities of the numbers. Now, the other one is that we can now go to the back end and see what we can restructure to be able to meet this obligation. 30,000 naira is not too much for Nigerians. Nigerian workers.
Yeah, it means governors should go put on their thinking cap and see how they can figure it out, and not because the one thing is to approve it, the other is to implement and pay. And
that's where the real deal is.
Okay, I know you want to talk about this. Let's talk about this before we move on to.
Nothing much. Just that I like the way it is proceeding. The trials, there's a 180-day window to execute this.
The additional declining to make any comment on the ongoing process.
It could become prejudicial. Now the matter is at the tribunal, and people have to be careful about what they say in the open. Otherwise, the court can ask them to call you. You come and that thing where you talk, come and talk for it. So once matters are already in the court, comment has to be modest.
All right. right, we'll go to the Nation newspaper now. Let's see what is on here. The big one is tempers rise as INEC gets set for make-up elections. That's on the front page of the paper. That's it on your screen. It has a couple of riders for you. You'll find details on page 2 and 3 of the paper. There's something about court stopping collation of results in Bochi. You will see that it's right there on your screen. PDP kicks as electoral body reverse itself. Those are some of the riders to that story. At the very top of the paper, we have Oyo APC to Makinde, stop chasing shadows. Page 42. No documents to back my claims on Fayose. Who is speaking? You find details on page 8. And then Oshu governorship tussle verdict Friday. Kwara's debt profile hits 30.2 billion naira. Just going by what you said now on the minimum wage issue, who knows if they will be able to come out of it.
Kwara was one of those states that also had salary payment issues. For several months, salaries were not paid in Kwara. And we can already see the debt profile. Though just mentioning figure about debt doesn't say much. Yeah, there's a lot to debt than the absolute numbers that have been thrown around. It is the sustainability of the debt, the capacity to meet the obligation as and when due, and all those other things that comes into play. But at the same time, we can see the handwritings on the wall. If I can't pay when it is 18,000, what do I need to do to be able to pay when it is 30,000?
Yeah, you also need to understand that it's not just the elites that read the papers. The ordinary man on the street reads the papers. So when they see figures like this, if I'm for Kwara State and I see this debt profile,
like, oh,
my heart will leap.
God.
I'll like, what is going on? You know. So I think it's something they really need to look at and maybe take time to explain.
To break it down,
yes,
for the people to see that, okay, although we are owing this much, but this is how we intend to pay it. It's not going to do this, you know, something to put their mind at rest, that the debt is sustainable.
All right, which other headline would you want to talk about?
I think there's something about VAT. FJ plans 50% rise in VAT.
Okay, that's on the Vanguard newspaper.
Yes, which I think is an important story.
Okay.
30,000 naira minimum wage on the right, possibility of 5% VAT on the left. That's because when you go back to the 2019 budget and you look through the papers, you cannot find where the wage bill, where the provision to accommodate the payment of 30,000 is in that budget. So it means that government needs to fund it somehow. And I think that is where the issue of rise in VAT is coming from. When labor is fighting for minimum wage, these are some of the questions or some of the discussions that must also come into play. It's not just to ask for the numbers. How will it be funded? Get some bit of comfort that it can be done and how it will be done before, as part of your negotiations. Okay. VAT will mean prices will increase. It means that for every consumption, because VAT is on consumption, there will be additional pay from the consumers.
Wow.
So the money is coming in on the right, it's leaving.
It's taken away from the other side. If they take it and put it back for the citizens, I think people wouldn't complain so much. But if salaries are paid on time and this is explained a little more, people might not be so scared. But if, like you said, there is no funding for the 30,000 naira minimum wage, we might have troubles with that. Yeah. All right, we're still on the Nation newspaper. I'll just take a quick flip to the back to see what is here. Reality bites. What do politicians think at death's door? This one is deep. You should read it. What do politicians think at death's door? That's it on your screen now. Olatunji is giving us some reality bites there. And then you also have hardball. Rivers, the smelly sore of a nation. Both are intriguing. Yeah,
quite interesting. Rivers is a bother to me, even as an individual, because I wonder why people, there are no strangers contesting election in Rivers, they are all indigenes. And the people fighting in Rivers are indigenes. Brothers. The people being killed are indigenes. There are elders in the land. Something needs to happen about Rivers. And it has been like this for years. It's not a 2019 affair. That's how it was in 2015. There was literally no elections, no Guba elections in Rivers in 2015. That's what the observers said.
That's quite unfortunate.
So, and it's been there for ages. So they need to do something about it.
All right, we go to the This Day newspaper now. We have Abuja court stops resumption of collation of Bauchi governorship election results. INEC moves to vacate order. PDP lawyers kick, say court lacks jurisdiction. That's it on your screen. Senate passes 30,000 naira as national minimum wage. A lot of happy news for a lot of persons. And we go to Yeri Zamfara. Bandits better equipped than security forces. And it has a rider there, says they stockpiled 500 AK-47 rifles in one armory. That's on your front page. We also have, speaking on Buhari's victory, subjudice rather, says Obasanjo. Did I get that word correctly? I keep hearing it and I keep wondering if I'm getting it right. Investors swoop on treasury bills, FG and bonds as political uncertainty ends. That's on page 10 of the paper. A quick flip to the back now. Let's see. We have something from Sam Amadi. And he's talking about the 2019 election and judicial activism. That's another lookie. That's in local parlance. That's a lookie. You should read it. All right. So your thoughts, please.
Investors swoop on treasury bills and FGM bonds. Generally, investment does not like uncertainty, and that was why we saw the way money was leaving practically every sector of the economy prior to elections. In fact, in like 6 months or even more leading up to the election, that was what we had. But now that somehow a bit of certainty seems to have come into the system, elections are significantly over. Of course, we will still have debates in the courts and trials and all that stuff. But the presidential election is over. Most of the gubernatorial are over as well. So there's certainty being brought back into the system, and portfolio investors are voting. They are taking the bets on Nigeria already, and I think it's a good news. It's good news for the economy. Abuja stops resumption of collation of Bauchi. Bauchi is another very interesting part. You had an election declared as inconclusive. Then sometimes along the line, INEC said, oh, it shouldn't have been inconclusive. It was because of Balewa local government that they're going to go ahead and declare the result of the Balewa, and by then it will not be inconclusive any longer.
So why doesn't that worry you that INEC can, seem to go back on itself? Isn't this something that shouldn't be? They should make decisions.
It's worrisome. What they were saying was that they had to go and investigate what happened, which means that
they didn't investigate before saying that it was inconclusive.
They made a statement, a very serious statement for that matter. You declare the election of a state inconclusive. It's a very serious matter, without digging through the dirt to know what exactly happened. Then after you have done that, you now went back and started looking at a report, making investigations, and in the course of that, you found out what you said was exactly what happened. And by the time you found out that, you have made a mistake in your earlier declaration. So you went back and said, okay, it's no longer inconclusive, there will not be a rerun election, we'll go ahead and finish the announcement. And
do you think it's actually better that they owned up to a mistake and corrected and want to correct it, or that they should have followed through with their earlier assessment?
No, if you made a mistake, the best thing is to actually retrace your steps and do the right thing. But whether what they are doing is the right or not, the court will sort it, because people are already going to court on this matter. So where there are issues of interpretation of the law, the competent body to do that is the judiciary, and they will do it.
True enough. Okay, that's some of the headlines on front
something
page.
on Zamfara is also worrisome.
Yeah, bandits better equipped than security forces.
Yeah, that's quite worrisome. I hope the security operative they're also privy to this information and should do something about Zamfara State.
We certainly hope they're listening. A whole lot going on in the papers this morning. You might want to go grab yourself a copy so you can dig in and get all the details that you need. We jump now to the Punch newspaper, where we have PDP and Atiku here again. Annex server shows we beat Buhari with 1.6 million votes. That's what they're alleging. Five grounds petition. Revisit alleged scam against president. That's on your screen right now. And at the very top of the paper, you will see something on INEC challenges ruling as court stops Bochi. We just talked about that seconds ago. How my aide died after making statements to EFCC or Banikoro. Details on page 8 if you're interested. North Central APC reps want speaker's slot. If you've been following the news, you would have seen that report that we brought to you from Abuja. But if you missed it for some reason, the news is up at 9 o'clock. Or you can as well go grab yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper. And Kajuru indigenes protest against killing. That's the big one there. You can see the pictures of... I don't know if the cameraman can put that up now, so you can see, yes, there you have it. A lot of people protesting against the killings in Kajuru. We also had the report earlier today. You find details on page 25. At the bottom, you see man accuses police of turning assault case against him. And then refineries lost 132 billion naira in 2018, says an NPC. A quick look at the back page now. Let's see. Democracy, the willful lady. That's a Lekon speaking. Democracy, the willful lady. You might want to read it if you want to see. Do you agree? Let's start from the back. Do you agree democracy is a willful lady?
I don't even know what it meant by willful lady. I think
So
the best thing is
you and I
to read
it. Okay, both of us are going to read it a little later, but let's come to the front pages now.
Quite a number of stories there. The Kajuru indigenes protest against killings. Kaduna State needs to take a second look at what is going on. The consistent killings is inconsistent with good leadership. That is so as far as I am concerned, if the killings have started since early February in Kajuru and they are sustained at this tempo, it is leadership failure at all levels, from the local up onto the very top in Kaduna State. And they need to do something about this. If you're presiding, what is the primary role of government? If you cannot provide security, you have failed. As simple as that. As simple as that. So the leadership in that state need to step in and stop these killings. Are we not tired of this?
Good question. Some of the protesters were accusing the governor of not using the right words, trying to play one
against the other. I mean, there was the issue of mentioning the fact that people that were killed at some point were Fulanis, and you begin to wonder why must those kind of words come from him? They are not the right words to use.
All right, Gbolahun, Olojede, thank you very much for always being there. We will take a short break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at what's making the rounds in our sports segment. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We get on to sports headlines now. I have with me Samson, Oloyede. Thank you very much for coming in.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, we go to complete sports. That's what we have. We'll also take a look at the back page of the Vanguard newspaper. The screamer, one of the screamers actually, is Eagles camp bubbles as 23 Eagles train. Yeah. Rao wants total focus as he steps up preparations for AFCON. That's it on your screen. And you also have him again insisting that 2019 AFCON sports still up for grabs. That's another one. And then Chelsea sets new £98.5 million prize for Hazard. And then this one about Imama orders Chukwueze Awoni to spell Libya. What does that mean, Samson?
Well, it's to get a convincing win over Libya. It's the under-23 African Cup of Nations, and our opener is against Libya. So you really want to start a competition on a high to make a statement to other oppositions that you're in for business. And we've got the players. You look at the under-23 squad, it spells quality and experience all over. You mentioned Chukwueze, who plays for Villarreal, is playing regularly, and that's a top Spanish side, you know, a top 10 club in the Spanish La Liga. You mentioned Taiwo Awoniyi as well, who has been banging in goals. And those are the strikers who Imam Pakabo will be looking forward to, you know, to get the goal. So I think it's all about getting the lads to focus and concentrate at the task at hand.
Yeah, there's a list of all the players that's already in camp. If you would want to take a look at it, it's still on the front page of Total Sports. There are other headlines. I'll just allow Samson pick the ones that he thinks, I mean, you really need to know about.
the Super Eagles in camp, you know, that is peculiar to us. You know, it's something that will fascinate the average Nigerian football fan, because we're playing against Seychelles on Friday. It's a dead rubber, you know, African Cup of Nations qualifier, because we've qualified already. But it will also serve as a preparatory, you know, tournament, so to speak, or game, you know, for the competition itself coming up in June. And then 3 days later, we'd also play against Egypt in an international friendly. So it's good to see that the foreign-based players are also in camp. You know, oftentimes in the past, what we've witnessed is for games that are inconsequential like this, or friendly matches, the big boys, so to speak, tend to, you know, ignore it. They come up with various excuses, from injuries to rest and all of that. But you have the likes of Odion Gallo, Ahmed Musa in there, Ogene, you know, Terror in there as well. So the foreign-based players are showing commitment, and it's something that is quite impressive and commendable.
On the back page of the Complete Sports, we have Transfer Center. We have Real Madrid revive interest in Sadio Mane, and Hazard puts. We've talked about this one already. But which of these transfer stories do you think?
Real Madrid. Zinedine Zidane is back, you know, and he called for an overhaul of the team last season. It didn't happen. He had to leave. Now he's back at the helm of affairs. I'm sure, you know, Fiorentino Perez would definitely want to recruit heavily this summer. So the likes of Eden Hazard, they won't phase out. And Hazard has spoken glowingly of, you know, his fascination with Real Madrid. It's always a dream for every footballer to play at Santiago Bernabeu and don the jerseys of Real Madrid. So we feel that the Hazard talk won't go away. It's going to be, you know, everywhere. The speculations will be rife. And with look of things, it's likely he leaves at the summer. Sadio Mane has been playing very good football beyond the goals in terms of even the quality of play. So that's also a player that they may look, you know, into. But a whole lot of players will move. It's still speculations thus far.
All right, we'll take a quick look at the back page of the Vanguard newspaper now to see if there are any sports stories. Okocha, why I quit football at 34. We have Olympic Eagles set to overpower Libya and Tunisia. Egypt prepare for Niger-Nigeria matches. And then we have... okay, I think this is Ama Pakabo.
Yeah, that's the mama, the coach you mentioned earlier.
Okechukwu, under 23 captain. All right, which of these do you want to talk about quickly?
The Olympic Eagles, you know, set to overpower Libya in Tunisia. That's the African Cup of Nations, the under-23, you know, tournament. Libya is our first match. We need to win to make a statement to start the tournament on a high. And we're the defending champions, so we also need to defend our title and, you know, qualify for the 2020 Olympic Games. We need to go a step further. In 2008, we were, you know, the finalists, lost to Lionel Messi's Argentina. But this time around, we want to get the Olympic gold, and it starts from here.
All right. Thank you very much, Samson. I guess that's where we're going to draw the curtain on today's Off the Press review. You take a look at the headlines. We've talked about a few of them. I know there are more that we couldn't exhaustively cover. You should grab a copy and read details for yourself. Thank you for always joining us. We'll be back again with more headlines on another edition of Off the Press. My name is Felicity Ezewuike.